Brazil's role in BRICS that could destroy US hegemony in Latin America. For decades, Latin America was treated as the backyard of the United States. Amid rising global polarization, the bloc has emerged as a key player in building a multipolar world order. And Brazil, with its strategic geography, abundant energy resources, and regional leadership, is now a central piece on the geopolitical chessboard. So how exactly can Brazil, through BRICS, undermine US dominance in Latin America? Political, economic, and even military interventions shape the destiny of entire countries, always aligned with Washington's interests. In recent years, the group has pushed forward the creation of parallel structures to the Bretton Woods system, such as the New Development Bank, often referred to as the BRICS Bank. Unlike the IMF or the World Bank, the NDB offers financing for infrastructure and development without enforcing neoliberal reforms, political conditionalities, or disguised colonial mechanisms. Latin American countries are watching this very closely, and Brazil, as a founding member, serves as a direct bridge between BRICS and its regional neighbors. The US hegemony over the region was virtually unchallenged, propped up by bilateral agreements, strategic military presence, and influence over the world's key financial institutions. By dominating the international financial system, Washington can impose sanctions, isolate governments, and cripple entire economies at will. BRICS, however, is pushing something revolutionary: mechanisms for trade using local currencies, or, even more ambitiously, a potential common digital currency for the bloc. Brazil has already begun conducting transactions with China using yuan and reais, bypassing the US dollar altogether. Over time, this could lead Latin American countries to wean themselves off dollar dependence, striking directly at the heart of US influence. Brazil, moreover, possesses something deeply valued by its BRICS partners: abundant strategic resources. It is an agricultural and energy powerhouse. It holds the largest freshwater reserves in the world, has massive oil deposits in the pre-salt layer, and boasts a largely renewable energy matrix. In a world undergoing an energy transition and facing resource scarcity, Brazil's assets are of immense geopolitical value. China and Russia are not just interested in buying these resources. They see Brazil as a key supplier and partner in building a bloc capable of resisting Western hegemony. Importantly, Brazil is not merely a resource provider. It is being courted as a regional leader within the BRICS project. With a foreign policy rooted in Brazil has long played the role of a mediator and bridge builder, capable of aligning diverse interests. Now, it is in a position to bring other Latin American nations into the BRICS orbit. Argentina, Bolivia, and Venezuela have all shown interest in joining or at least aligning with the bloc. Should this materialize, US influence in Latin America would plunge dramatically. A clear example is Brazil's deepening cooperation with China. While the US tries to economically isolate Beijing, Brazil is expanding trade, tech, and even space partnerships with the Chinese. Chinese investments in Brazilian infrastructure have already outpaced those of the US, with funding flowing into ports, railways, power plants, and telecom networks. But this isn't just about business. It's about building long-term strategic alliances that place Brazil within an entirely different global axis. Washington is also alarmed by Brazil's amid the ongoing war in Ukraine. Brazil has refused to join the Western sanctions. It has maintained open diplomatic channels with Moscow and continues to import vital Russian fertilizers, crucial for its vast agribusiness sector. There's also collaboration in defense, nuclear energy, and emerging technologies. This independent, pragmatic stance sends a loud message. Brazil will no longer blindly follow Washington's geopolitical script. Symbolically, Brazil's assertive role within BRICS reinforces a growing global narrative that the global South no longer needs to bow to Western powers. This resonates deeply across Latin America, a region scarred by centuries of exploitation, CIA-backed dictatorships, and endless cycles of debt and dependency. By asserting leadership within a bloc like BRICS, Brazil is not just representing itself, it is setting an example for its neighbors. Of course, this path is not without obstacles. The United States will not sit back quietly as its grip weakens. It continues to push bilateral trade deals, diplomatic pressure, and fear-based narratives, invoking the so-called China threat, or the return of socialism to sow doubt. But these tactics are losing effectiveness. Latin America's younger generations are more informed, digitally connected, and less willing to accept a model that centralizes power in one northern capital. BRICS, too, has internal challenges. There are political differences, economic asymmetries, and diverging national agendas. But crucially, the bloc gives Brazil something the US never offered: a seat at the table as an equal power. Within Brics, Brazil is not a junior partner. It is a key player, helping shape the future of a new world order. Brazil's role in Brics is not just economic or institutional. It is deeply political and civilizational. It represents a break from centuries of subjugation and dependency. It embodies the vision of a new paradigm for cooperation among southern nations, based on sovereignty, mutual benefit, and respect. If this trend continues, and all signs point that it will, Brazil could well become the engine behind the de-Americanization of Latin America. And that doesn't mean hostility for its own sake. It means freedom. The freedom to trade with whoever it wants. The freedom to set its own agenda. The freedom to be respected as a regional and global power in its own right. In other words, Brazil now holds the potential to lead a quiet revolution. The end of its hegemony in its own backyard, transforming Latin America from a zone of influence into a zone of power. But today, that supremacy is beginning to crack. And, surprisingly to some, Brazil is at the heart of this shift, playing a strategic role within Brics that could redefine the balance of power across the entire continent. Brics, the group originally formed by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and now expanded to include nations like Iran, Egypt, and Ethiopia, has evolved far beyond an acronym for emerging economies. The answer begins with Brics' rise as a real alternative to the Western model led by the United States. Another crucial factor is the strategy of The United States has long used the dollar as a tool of global control,